Good morning all, welcome to the morning after show, the morning after the night before. This video might be going out a bit later. I've had some internet problems at home, some Wi-Fi issues, so might be coming to you Friday, hopefully by Friday midday, maybe Friday morning. Anyway, enough of that. Manchester City 3, Newcastle United 1. We're out the League Cup. We will not make the final to defend our cup, but it's going to be Manchester City against Arsenal. The two best teams in the country will compete at Wembley for the League Cup midway through March. Overall feelings about the game, I don't know how to feel about this 100%. Obviously, I'm gutted we lost. I'm gutted we're out the cup. I'm gutted at the manner of our defeat. However, I do think there are some positives to draw, which might be mad. At one point, it was looking like, I text in my group chat, one of the group chats, this could be the most dominant semi-final result in recent memory. Because they raced into that 3-0 lead. I thought, oh my God, if Manchester City really want to turn the screw, this could be 6 or 7. And we're looking at an aggregate score of 9 or 10. Oh my word. So what happened? So Voltemada starts the game. Let's go for it front to back. Aaron Ramsdale starts in goal. Lewis Hall left wing back. Trippier right wing back. Dan Burn, Sven Botman and Malik Chow. Your midfield two, because it was like a 5-2-3. Your midfield two was Ramsey and Tonali. Was it a midfield two? It might have been a midfield three. It might have been a 5-3-2 actually. Yeah, Willock, Ramsey, Tonali. Willock and Ramsey getting a lot of game time recently, which is good to see. Voltemada and Anthony Gordon up front. Was I surprised with that? I didn't really know which way you would go, to be honest. Obviously, we're 2-0 down from the first leg. It's a mountain to climb, going to the stadium that we have the least success at. I know we haven't won Anfield since 1994, but the Etihad, that was our first goal at the Etihad since 2018, I want to say. Since DeAndre Yedlin. Do you know what I mean? I've got a feeling, is that the game where Kyle Walker scored that screamer from 30 yards into the bottom corner? It might be. So I was probably anticipating Wissa, but there we go. Anyway, 6 minutes in, Manchester City score. Mamouche gets into the box on the left-hand side. Dan Burn makes a great covering tackle, but the ball just bobbles up and bounces against Mamouche and flies past the goalkeeper. When it's not going your way, it's really not going your way, you know. I'm ashamed to admit I turned the telly off at that point. I literally said aloud, well, that's the end of that then, turned it off. Then in about probably 10 or 20 seconds, maybe less, I had a million thoughts through my head. I thought, right, you're at home, you're watching it in a warm house, you got your missus sat next to you, you got a beer in one hand, TV remote in the other. You haven't driven to Manchester City, you haven't paid for a ticket, you're not stood there in the cold and wind and rain, you're not stood there probably going to have to cope with mocking chants and abuse from Mancunians. Come on, Lewis, get a grip. So the TV went straight back on. And it just got bad from worse, didn't it? We employed that tactic that we used so effectively against Arsenal in last season's semi-final, particularly the home game. So last season it was Dan Burn and Fabian Schär were the two centre-backs flying forward to put pressure on Arsenal's midfield. Obviously, it was Fabian Schär on Declan Rice, which led to the second goal. And Sven Botman was the last line of defence hanging back. The other night, it seemed to me like it was Dan Burn hanging back and Thiaw and Botman were pushing right up, which is a brave strategy and a good tactic to employ. However, Manchester City are that good at playing through the lines and playing through an opposition's midfield. It was like a knife through butter. in some respects, that tactic, which was set up and utilised to make it as difficult as possible for Man City, was making it even easier for them. Jamie Carragher called it out a couple of times, saying they got to stop doing it, and we just kept doing it, and before you know it, it's 3-0. The second goal, I think it gets played into the back post from the left-hand side. Kieran Trippier, I love Trips to bits. He was the most important Newcastle signing in my time, probably of all time. But at 35 years old, he's starting to cost us a little bit at the minute. I feel so bad saying that because I love him as a player. I was a right back as a kid, and I would have loved to have been able to play, obviously nowhere near the standard, but if I could have moulded my game on a Kieran Trippier, I would have been well happy. He's got everything you want as a right back, but it's just starting to cost us a little bit now. Couldn't sort his feet out. The clearance goes straight up in the air. Mamouche is Johnny on the spot at the back post to just nod it down. Kieran Trippier sat on his arse. Can't get up. Then Reinders scores. They're picking us apart. The second half, Man City have a few other opportunities. Aaron Ramsdale has a good game. He's made some saves. Haaland is one in particular. It was a fantastic pass from Shirky, I believe. Haaland takes it. It's exactly where he wants it, in his stride, left foot, from left to right, as you're looking at the goal. And Aaron Ramsdale saves it. Fantastic save. Then we score. Elanga. Lovely goal from wide right, dribbles in between two Man City players, goes past a third, does a little stutter, sorts his feet out, bends it into the bottom left-hand corner with his left foot in off the post. Now, that is one of the reasons I really was quite pleased when we signed Elanga over an Mbeumo. Now, Semenyo obviously would have been the one. But I love that Elanga is a great finisher with either foot. Now, we've not seen that until that game against City, until last night. But it was a great finish. But Man City, so we won the second half. But Man City were in cruise control. They didn't have to do an awful lot to nullify that game and see it out. We improved in the second half. But Man City, going to the Etihad and overturning a 2-0 deficit was always going to be a massive ask, because Man City, despite their problems this season, I think they're too good a team to let that lead slip on their own patch, at their own stadium, in front of their own fans. Well, what few fans they had there last night. It was Newcastle were the dominant voice for the vast majority of the game, Newcastle fans rather, and the Man City fans just didn't seem that bothered. Didn't seem that excited, not that interested. Now, perhaps if you won the League Cup like a million times in the last 10 years, then it's not the end of the world. But a cup semi-final is a big deal, and they're accustomed to success, I suppose. But let's look at the other negatives. Anthony Gordon's gone off injured, holding his hamstring. I'm going to say it. I'm going to call it as I see it. I might have to turn around here. Am I going to have to turn around? I don't know. I'm going to call it as I see it. To me, it stank a little bit of Joe Linton against Brentford. The game's not going well. Let's get out of this situation. Hopefully I'm right, and therefore he's not got a serious injury. But hopefully I'm wrong, because I don't think Anthony Gordon's that character. But it did seem like, yeah, I don't fancy this. You know, we're 3-0 down. I think were we 2 or 3-0 down at that point? Who knows? Oh my God, what's going on here? But let's look at the positives. We created opportunities. Created some real opportunities. I've no idea what's going on here. Sorry, I'm on a country road and there's a tanker reversing back on the other side of the road, and I'm not 100% sure why. Yeah, let's just get out of the way. Voltemada releases Anthony Gordon, who squares it for Joe Willock. Joe Willock, usually quite a good finisher. I know he hasn't scored that many goals in the last few years, nowhere near the amount of goals he perhaps should be scoring. if you look at his early career, but he tries to go around the goalkeeper. James Trafford reads it. Then we have another opportunity at the back post. Anthony Gordon. I thought it was a really tough opportunity, but having looked back at it, he should be doing better with that, even on his left side. Oh my God, we've got HGVs all over the place. Then Sven Botman has a great header from a corner. James Trafford again, great save. James Trafford, it says a lot. This is chaos here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, I should have turned around. James Trafford has makes a fantastic save off that Sven Botman header, and it says a lot that he was one of Man City's best players in that first half. Second half, Johan Wissa comes on at half time. Johan Wissa has a fantastic opportunity. Immediately on his left side and spoons it. I want to say at least, I'm not very good at yards unless it's inside the box. I want to say a metre and a half wide, couple of feet, 2 or 3 feet maybe more. Unbelievable opportunity, and it just goes a begging. I think Wissa has another opportunity. Alanga squares it across the box, and he's not quite ready. Alanga then scores his own goal, a goal of his own. Then Alanga has, which I've already described, Alanga has such a simple opportunity in comparison, and just spoons it wide. So the cup game, I turned that telly on with belief, enthusiasm, but zero expectation. Now, the fact that we created those opportunities tells me that when we play them again at the Etihad in a few weeks' time, we've got a real chance to do something. Don't you just love it when there's a traffic jam and you've got a tryhard, a do-gooder who loves to just stop and tell everybody that there's a traffic jam, even though everyone's already stuck in the traffic jam? But there we go. Anyway, final thoughts. This video is never going to be a long one because we were pretty much at 1 foot out of the cup, didn't we, anyway? But there are positives to take. There are some glaring negatives. The defending, the tactics, etc. Nick Voltemada just not involved in the game, really, apart from that one decent pass. Joe Willett didn't have his best game. Kieran Trippier didn't have his best game. Lewis Hall came off. I saw a lot of people online saying, oh my God, not another injury. We can't afford to have a left back injured. He wasn't injured. That was just you played a lot of football recently, son. The game's gone. There's no point risking him further because he is probably our best player at the moment. But there are positives to take. We caused Man City problems, and I'd like to think that as soon as that second or third goal went in, Eddie Howe's thinking, right, we got to protect this. We got to keep this respectable. But I'm going to keep some cards close to my chest because we're playing them next in a couple of weeks' time. But who knows? Anyway, thanks for watching. Bit of a weird video because of traffic and there's been absolute murders on the road here. But thanks for watching. See you later.